back on the Boulevard Sunday, May 26th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We are presented by the Believe Network tonight. Welcome into another edition of UFL Final, our Week 9 highlight show. I know some of you probably caught the Indy 500 today, and let me tell you, this weekend in the UFL was also some high-speed action. So whether you're with us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it tonight, get ready for an interesting week of UFL highlights. Zook, let's start off at UFL HQ in Arlington. The Renegades, a 3-point home dog to St. Louis, who is yet again missing A.J. McCarron. So Manny Wilkins gets the go. Here's the 3rd and 5, 4 minutes to go first quarter. This one started real slow until Blake Jackson fumbled the ball trying to stick it over the first down marker, forced out by Miles Dorn there. Arlington in business early on. They call this one Sooner Pass. Baker Mayfield versus Iowa State 2015. They replicate it here to Sal Cannella. Touchdown Renegades. They get the 2 to go up 8-0, and the offense really looked creative all day, but St. Louis was going to have something to say about that with Wayne Gallman inside the 10-yard line. 3rd and goal. Wilkins stuffed on the goal line. That Renegade defense making a huge stop. The teams trade field goals. It's 11-3 until Jacob Saylor's off and running. Shoestring tackle there to keep him out of the end zone. 5 minutes to go. First half. St. Louis needs a score to tie it up with a 2. It's Jacob Saylor's finding the end zone, a familiar place for him, and he's back in it. St. Louis, 2-point conversion to tie it up. Wilkins on the option to Gallman. It's blown up by the Arlington defense. Joe Powell maybe could return that for 2, but he gets tripped up. Arlington retains a 2-point lead. 3 minutes to go in the half. A dime to Deontay Burnett there along the sideline. 2nd and 1 now. My favorite down to take a shot, and Chuck Long does just that. Isaiah Winstead. Javonte Payton got hurt. They needed Winstead to step up, and he did with a touchdown. It's 17-9 Arlington, and they just kept getting creative. Holt Nailers the Winstead on the reverse. Some ECU Pirate love. Folks in Greenville, North Carolina, loving that one. And then it became the Darius Shepard show. 11 saw they were down 10 and said, hold on, let me take the kick to midfield, and then I'm going to go back in on offense. 52 seconds to go in the half. I'm going to pick up a first down here, get us in business. Now watch Shepard here on 1st and 10, 30 seconds to go in the half. Makes a man miss into the red zone. First down, getting more yardage, fighting inside the 10-yard line. And on 3rd and goal, not going to go back to Shepard, but they are going to go to Jacob Saylors, who is actually short here. So they go QB sneak with Manny Wilkins. 3 seconds to go. Anthony Beck's team punches it in to cut the deficit to 4. 19-15 going into the half. St. Louis ball to open it up. Deep pass along the near sideline for Steven Mitchell. He hauls that one in to make it 2nd and goal. Wilkins scrambling for dear life. Touchdown for the former Sun Devil. Doing it with his legs as we saw him do last week. It's 21-19 St. Louis. 1-pointer to go up 3. Stuffed. Wayne Gallman can't find his way to the end zone. That was a crucial moment there. Arlington has it back now. 9:30 to go in the 3rd. Perez. Cannella. 1 man misses. Jukes another. 3, 4, 5 guys to bring down Big Sal. First down Arlington. This game exciting from start to finish. And in the red zone, Seth Green comes up huge for the Renegades to put them up 25-21. And on the 2-point conversion, Perez stands in the pocket and delivers the conversion right back to Green. 27-21, late moments, 3rd quarter. Arlington has it back. Look at Perez stepping up in the pocket, finds Tyler Vaughns. Perez, one of the best quarterbacks in the UFL, and it showed today. And how about Devin Darrington? You Orlando Guardian fans remember that name from last year. He puts him inside the 10, back to Cannella. Nice tackle here from Tim Harris and co. to stop him and force a field goal. So St. Louis down 9. 4:27 to go. Third down. Whoop! Whoop! Wilkins! Seems like he does a highlight reel play like this almost every week that he's got to start. He did it last week against DC. 4th and 1 now. A little flip out to Jake Sutherland. Hurdles a man. Sutherland showing some effort. Down by 9 here. Clock is ticking. 2:37 to go. Wilkins staying composed until he throws a pick. Stephen Jones Jr. goes up and grabs that one out of the air for Arlington. Now 1:55 to go. 3rd and 13. Perez going to try to run to the sticks. Not going to get there. So St. Louis going to have one more chance to go down the field, score, and get a 3-point conversion until Joe Powell, who returned a kickoff for a touchdown in XFL 2020, won a championship with Arlington last year, gets re-signed a few weeks ago, and puts on for Globe Tech. That's right, folks. Joe Powell out of Globe Tech with the pick 6. And Keelan Kennedy said, anything you could do, I could do better. Here's the problem. This was a pick 1. Is this the first ever pick 1 in pro football history? Look at Kennedy. He realizes, I just did all that, and I only get 1 point. Let me say a prayer for myself real quick. 36-22. Last-ditch effort for St. Louis. Picked off by Miles Dorn. Can you believe it? The Arlington Renegades, who dropped 47 against Memphis 2 weeks ago, put up a 36 spot on the number 1 pass defense in the UFL. It was Luis Perez, the hero of the day. 24 of 36 for 259 and 3 touchdowns. The most pass yards anybody has put up on that St. Louis defense all year. Renegades scoring over 32 a game the last 3. They also went 3 for 3 on the 2-point conversions, and the defense forces 4 turnovers. So now this puts St. Louis in a tough situation. They could have clinched. Instead, now they got to go back to the Dome for a date with San Antonio. It's Renegades 36, Battlehawks 22. On to San Antonio. The Alamo Dome was rocking. The visiting Stallions riding a 15-game win streak into this thing, and it was Quentin Dormady getting strip-sacked early by DeMarcus Gates, recovered by Taco Charlton. Just like that, Stallions put the offense in business. Look at this. Gates coming up huge for the 2nd straight week. Had a big sack against Houston the week prior. Now Martinez going down. People thought this would be a defensive battle. It turned out that way. 3rd and 11. Dormady, 7 minutes to go first. Cody Latimer hangs in there, takes a hit across the middle, catches the ball for a 25-yard gain. Kenny Robinson flies in, gets a dirty late hit here on Latimer, who had to leave the game with a concussion. Robinson was not ejected, but he was assessed a 15-yard penalty. Very next play, Dormady, Jontre Kirkland, bring your own juice. Justin Smith, touchdown Brahmas. Where have you seen that before? Oh yeah, A.J. Smith ran it last year in Houston. The Alamo Dome erupts. It's 6-0. No good on the 2-point conversion. T formation for Ricky Person trying to answer. Absolutely nowhere to go. Jordan Mosley and Darius Phillips bring him down on 3rd and 1. San Antonio defense comes up with a huge stop. Quentin Dormady out. Chase Garbers, seeing his first action in 6 weeks, was thrust into this game due to a Dormady injury. And Garbers could use his legs, but the Birmingham defense would stop San Antonio and kick a 34-yard field goal to get on the board, 6-3. Remember, this is important because Birmingham has not trailed at half all season. San Antonio trying to be the first ones to do that with Jontre Kirkland along the near sideline into the red zone. 2nd and 6 now. They run the wild bull with Anthony McFarland, bobbles the snap, but ends up with a first down. 3-point lead for San Antonio gets extended here from Morgan Juice Ellison, whose last touchdown in spring football was against San Antonio with the Seattle Sea Dragons last year. He makes it 12-3. Now 3:15 to go in the half. A big PBU there by Darius Phillips, who is back from an injury from a few weeks ago. Now Justin Smith on a 3rd and 5. Clock is ticking. Garbers trying to get them in field goal range. Beautiful throw to Jontre Kirkland along the far sideline. So Ryan Santoso going to have a shot from 53 off the upright. but it's okay. Brahmas fans can exhale. They're up 9 into the second half. Some adjustments were clearly made. Martinez, nice little sidearm throw. Jay Sternberger along the near sideline, galloping inside the 10-yard line. They took a long look at this one, and Mike Pereira eventually said, we're going to give Birmingham at the 6. They had a penalty that backed them up, but on 2nd and goal, right back to Jace in the corner of the end zone. Touchdown Birmingham. And this is where momentum swung. Or did it? We all thought it would, but on the 2-point conversion, San Antonio forgets about the touchdown, and they make a huge play here to keep a 3-point lead in the third quarter. Now midway third, Martinez running for his life, pointing downfield, throws on the run, nobody home. Brahmas defense gets a huge stop here into the fourth, still up 3, and this is where Anthony McFarland started to turn on the burners. Here he gets him inside the 40. McFarland could not be stopped. Just his second week back from an injury. He's running right, he's running left, following his blockers, battling through tacklers, gets it inside the 25. A 3rd and 26 for San Antonio. Garbers takes a shot down the middle for Landon Akers. And guess who again? Kenny Robinson, another boneheaded penalty to give San Antonio the ball right on the goal line on a 2nd and 7. Juice Ellison gonna bounce it outside. A 2-touchdown day for the former Seattle Sea Dragon, cut by Arlington earlier in the year. Now doing it with the Brahmas. 8:35 to go. They lead it by 9. This is a crucial 1-pointer. Trying to go up 2 scores. They couldn't do it. So now Birmingham with a chance until Martinez goes down. The San Antonio defense did it all afternoon with 4 sacks. And Brad Wing hits an absolute piss missile, as Pat McAfee would call it. Wade Phillips said this was a game-winning punt. And guess what? I can't argue with it, because Martinez had to go 80 yards in 1:48. Jake Sternberger that was Amari Rodgers across the middle. Next play, 2nd and 10, 1:30 to go. Martinez stepping up in the pocket. And if you're a San Antonio fan, you're thinking, here we go again. Who is going to stop Birmingham in a 2-minute drill? 3rd and 8 now, under a minute to go. Sternberger across the middle, battling his way inside the 30-yard line. Birmingham in business. 33 seconds to go. 2nd down and 5. Martinez escapes the rush. Gonna throw for the end zone, and Tease Tabor picks it off. Game, set, match, streak. San Antonio, the first team to beat Birmingham in 377 days. The Alamo Dome went crazy. Look at this catch by Tabor. Went all the way up for it. The former 2nd-round NFL draft pick out of Florida makes his presence felt, and Wade Phillips goes home a winner. And guess what? The Brahmas are moving on to Week 10, where they'll have a chance to play for home field advantage in this win. Anthony McFarland did it all. 82 rush yards, 34 receiving yards. John Trey Kirkland with the pass touchdown, 66 receiving yards of his own. You have to give it to Chase Garbers, who missed the last 6 weeks with a wrist injury, came into this one with 1:56 left in the first quarter, and played great. For the Stallions running backs, a tough day. 9 carries and 16 yards between Person and Marable. And of course, the story, the 15-game win streak comes to an end. How will Birmingham respond in the next 3 games? It's Brahmas, 18, Stallions, 9. On to Sunday's action. Many thought nobody was playing for anything in this game. Jordan Tomu said, the hell with that. I'm going to come out and have the best game of my spring football career. But it didn't start good early for JT. Sacked by Quentin Meeks there. 4th and 2. They called a timeout to draw this one up. And what happened? We kept on rolling. Chris Rowland, friend of the Boulevard, touchdown on 4th and 2 to open up the scoring. Rowland just went over 1,000 all-purpose yards last week, showing out in front of the Showboats crowd. 6-0 DC now. Late moments first quarter, JT doing it with his legs. Long run here, gets out of bounds on a 2nd and 11. DC in business. They give it to Kiki QT, utilized him big time on the end around today to open up the scoring with a 12-0 lead. DC gonna go for 2 here to make it 14-0 early. Memphis trying to answer. 3rd and 2 for Troy Williams, who got the start after being out last week. Sacked by Malik Fisher. Fish just doing it all year, one of the UFL leaders in sacks. Here's another 3rd down where the DC defense gets home. Deontay Anderson And on a 4th and 17, right back to Chris Rowland, the former Tennessee State Tiger. What? Look at this. Rowland doing it on punt return, kick return, receiver. He even had some carries. That's our guy for DC. Cannot wait to see him play next year. Here's Jordan Ta'amu on a 1st and 10. Bombing it down the middle. It's picked off by Meeks. So Memphis, still some life. Correction, DJ Daniel on the pick there. Darius Victor trying to get Memphis in business. Rumbling, stumbling inside the 30. Big 3rd and 2 run there. Now a 2nd and 1. Josh Love replacing Troy Williams. Hands it off to Victor. Long overdue trip to the end zone for thick thighs saving lives. Memphis gets the 1. It's 14-7. Now Ta'amu on a 2nd and 7. Nice throw to Brandon Smith late in the half here, trying to drive into Matt McCrane's field goal range. And they got so far down there, I think Fred Keiss said, let's go for the end zone. Kiki QT here. Gonna get him inside the red zone. And on a 1st and 10, 19 seconds to go, JT, Alex Ellis, touchdown DC. Got another 2-point conversion to make this 22-7 Defenders into the break. Memphis defense just cannot believe the amount of points they've been able to give up. Creativity on the 2-point conversion. Haven't seen them run that play much. So some innovation from Fred Keiss here. To open up the second half, it was much of the same. RPO in the red zone, and another 2-point conversion to follow to put DC up 30-7. Here we go. Another trip to the red zone. Ta'amu. That one gets picked off. One of 2 picks today. Delrick Abrams gets that one, gets drugged down. But Memphis still down big. They're going to run the ball anyway. Darius Victor, 1st down on the pickup. Running through tacklers. Now a 3rd and 6 for Josh Love. Caught by Vinny Papali. And Memphis might have a little bit of life in them. 30-13. 12 minutes to go. Got to rally. But the defense could not stop anybody. Jalen McClendon came in for Ta'amu. Finds himself the end zone as the backup quarterback. And to cap things off at 36-21 here, Love going deep. A nice pick by Monte Nicholson, who filled in for Santos Ramirez out with an injury. Bobbles it along the sideline, gets the pick. DC improves to 4-5. Memphis has allowed 32 or more points in 6 of their last 7 games. They also gave up a whopping 27 first downs today, although they did get the run game going with Victor. Defenders, 431 total yards. That's a season high for them. They were great on 3rd down. And how about Chris Rowland? Over 200 all-purpose yards and a touchdown. Great game for Ta'amu as well. It's Defenders, 36. Showboats, 21. Another game, Mike Nolan's Panthers. Already know they're going to Birmingham the next 2 weeks. Why not get a win in Houston while we're at it? Become road warriors. Danny Etling got the start in this one. Finds Sayosi Mariner. And a miss from Jake Bates from 39. Humidity must have got to him a little bit. It was 95 at kickoff in H-Town. Turf temps reaching above 120. Mark Thompson felt those effects as well. He fumbles early on in the first quarter, and we're scoreless. Both offenses having trouble moving the ball until a 1st and goal here with Nate McCrary filling in for an injured Wes Hills. Going to find the boundary and stretch it for the score. Michigan goes up 6-0 early with McCrary. Again, not much scoring in the first quarter of this one. On to the second quarter, Nolan Henderson comes in. Actually, Reed Sinnett still in the game at this point before Henderson got in. On a 3rd and 10, stopped short by Nate Brooks. That forces a J.J. Molson field goal from 39 yards out. Houston cuts that lead to 3. Michigan said they might rest some starters in this one, but Danny Etling's still on the field. He finds a completion there on a 1st and 15 to Mariner, who had himself a nice game, led the Panthers in receiving. Here's a 2nd and 18 for Etling across the middle, and it's picked off. Houston showing the defense. They got a lot of takeaways this season. Can they capitalize on offense like they did last week? Let's see it. Henderson, 2nd and 13, across the middle. Justin Hall, the Hall monitor. Touchdown Roughnecks. Explosive play to start the second half. for Hall, who's been magnificent in that offense this year. Mike Nolan throws Bryce Perkins out there for the second half. He's picked off early, so his day did not start well. Markel Roby with a heads-up play on that one. Houston on a 2nd and 20 now, up 3. Henderson calling a shot along the sideline, a dime for Emmanuel Butler, putting the Roughnecks in the red zone. Henderson looking in sync early. Touchdown to Justin Hall. A pair of scores for him on the day, going to put Houston up 16-6. Bryce Perkins, 3rd and 13. Almost looking like Adrian Martinez out there the way he's striding. Perkins can do it with his legs. He was excellent through the air as well. I mean, just look how smooth he looks. Touchdown pass here to Trey Quinn, who hits the, oh, damn, Trey Quinn. Hips don't lie, Trey. 12-16 now, Michigan down 4. 3rd and 8. Henderson saw what Perkins was doing and says, you know what, I can use my legs too. Might be a little undersized, but that didn't matter when I was at Delaware. Here's a 3rd and 12. Nolan stepping up in the pocket, finding a receiver along the far sideline. 1st and goal, Mark Thompson going to barrel in from a few yards out to extend this Houston lead to 10. Into the 4th quarter, all Houston's got to do is salt this one away. Bryce Perkins had a thing or two to say about that on a QB draw. Cannot be stopped. The former Virginia Cavalier into the end zone. One of 2 rushing touchdowns for him on the day. Crucial 1-point conversion attempt here. Well, they got that one even though they didn't get the 3-pointer last week for you, so. Same play, too. Cole Hicatini redeems himself. And much of the same from the Michigan defense. Rondell Carter with the sack of Henderson. They get it back. 7:20 to go. Down 3. Got to make a play. Going for 5 straight wins. Bryce Perkins finds Devin Ross. Now Perkins on the goal line. Just RPO to perfection. Touchdown, Panthers. Perkins looking like he could emerge as a potential starter for the Panthers' playoff run. They go for 1 to try to prevent a Houston field goal to tie it, and they get it. That was a huge moment considering Houston now gets the ball back and has to score a touchdown. 3rd and 17. Henderson not ready to give up yet. Flips it off. Big gainer there. Now 3rd and 2. They're going to run the ball into plus territory. Clock is ticking. Houston needs a score to win it. 3rd and 3. Nolan Henderson making men miss. Gotta love the fight in this kid from the University of Delaware. Until he slipped. That turf was pretty hot. It was steamy down there. Breland Speaks, 3 sacks on the day. Last-ditch effort for Houston here. They go deep. Nate Brooks bats it away. And just like that, Mike Nolan's Michigan Panthers, in a spot where they didn't necessarily need to win, find a way to do it. Bryce Perkins is just shocking. 121 passing yards, 76 rushing. He gets 3 touchdowns on the day. Did throw that early pick. Breland Speaks with 3 sacks, like we said. Panthers went 4 of 5 in the red zone for their 5th straight win. And for the Roughnecks, a disappointment from C.J. Johnson's club, who was outscored 14-0 in the 4th quarter, although the offense performed magnificently yet again. 8 of 13 on 3rd downs. Justin Hall with a breakout game. Just was not enough to get him there. It's Panthers 26, Roughnecks 22. Wow. Well, if you thought UFL Week 9 didn't matter, I hope we were able to bring a little bit of excitement to you. I did wake up this morning in a different time zone in San Antonio, Texas at about 5 a.m. to hop on my plane, get back here to meet with Chris Zook, and get us back on the Boulevard. Let's take a recap from our week in San Antonio. I travel the country to witness football's newest rivalry, the XFL versus the USFL. In the XFL corner, the San Antonio Brahmas. In the USFL corner, the Birmingham Stallions. Welcome to the Battle of the Brands Tour. We got the yellow out. You get an outside look at the Alamo Dome. It's opened up in 1993. So now going 30 years strong here in San Antonio. It's about 105 degrees out here. I'm sweating like Lucifer's hind parts, so I'm heading inside. It's a shot from up top at the Alamo Dome press box. Super nice facility. One of the best in the UFL. We got the yellow out today. I even got some yellow on here. Let's do it.
Check-in will close at the end of the third quarter.
All right, yellow out is rocking. We got kickoff. Man, they even got the flat screens in the elevators here. All right, halftime update here from the Alamo Dome. Brahmas lead it 12-3 over the Stallions, which is shocking considering Birmingham has not trailed at halftime at all this entire season. They've also not been held without a touchdown the entire season. So San Antonio defense stepping up. They shook off an early strip sack. Defense stopped Birmingham, got it back, put a nice drive together. Cody Latimer got hurt, carted off the field. Very next play, John Trey Kirkland on the double pass to Justin Smith. As we got some Brahmas faithful with the yellow out in the background. It's going to be a raucous environment in the second half, expecting some fireworks. Really tough way to end the half. San Antonio tried a 52-yard field goal right off the upright. So Brahmas leading it, looking good for the home faithful so far. Stay tuned for the second half. Second half update here, 2:07 to go. Brahmas up 18-9, so still a one-score game. Birmingham's going to have a chance to go down the field and tie it with a three-point conversion. Get your popcorn ready.
Our defense came up with an interception. Our offense played really well. We outrushed the team that was leading the league in rushing by quite a ways.
John Trey, I want to give you your passing stats in your spring football career. Three of four, 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. What's that all about?
That's pretty good right there. I like that. I got another touchdown pass. I'm happy about that. We had a play call. It was originally Dr. Pepper. And Coach AJ said, you know, bump this. We gonna call it Cody Lattimore. So we did that for Cody, and that kind of got us a little juice right there.
All right, signing off from the Alamo Dome, an electric win for the San Antonio Brahmas, 18-9. So you came into this one and it was close the whole way. San Antonio was the only team to be leading on Birmingham at the half. They also held them without a touchdown in the first half, which is something that no other team had done to this point. Chase Garbers was QB2 coming into the day. He comes back in for Quentin Dormady right away in the second quarter, has himself a great game. Credit to that Will Reed defense. They stepped up huge today. This is interesting now because San Antonio, with the win next week over St. Louis, has a chance to host the XFL Conference Championship game. Hey, San Antonio gets one for the X. Another successful stop for the Battle of the Brands Tour. I guess we'll see you in the playoffs. Back on the Boulevard, Sunday, May 26th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. I want to take some time here tonight, Zook, to address something pretty critical to spring football and our show as well. A lot of DMs, a lot of replies, a lot of mentions back in week 1 when the USFL went up 2-0 on the XFL. A lot of memes coming our way. A lot of chirping going on. And they're quiet tonight because the XFL has clinched the season series in the rivalry for the Battle of the Brands with a San Antonio win of Birmingham and, believe it or not, a DC win over Memphis. The USFL goes down 9-7. The XFL pulled off the comeback. I do have to give my hats off to the USFL. Made it a little closer than I think. In fact, I think I said it would be 15 or 16-0, Zook. So I was a little off. However, the XFL, throw them up, baby. We ain't going anywhere. We're here to stay. The Battle of the Brands Tour, another awesome, successful trip. Thank you to everyone who made that possible. That San Antonio crowd was electric. The Brahma Bulls, the Bulls on parade, the yellow out, that mattered. And for anyone who wants to say home field doesn't matter in the UFL, check out what happened today. Or check out what happened the other day. It still feels like one day for me because I woke up in a different time zone. But think about it. Arlington pulls off the home upset over St. Louis. San Antonio pulls off the home upset over Birmingham. And Houston almost had one over Michigan that came down to the wire. So these UFL crowds, they're still going strong. And we're going to have some stronger ones as the playoffs approach. All right, Zook, we had some best bets this weekend. An over 500 week for the Boulevard. What do you got to say about our prediction at the beginning of the year coming true? Of course, the XFL, superior spring football league.
Of course. Let's go.
Oh, there it is.
We got it on set. Don't worry. That makes me really happy because there's a lot of trolls.
I
out
kept
there.
the receipts too, and we had a long day here in Studio Z, prepping to come on the air for you guys tonight. So I didn't have my Twitter fingers going all that much today, but guess what? Tomorrow's a holiday. I'm coming for you, baby. I kept the receipts. I kept them all.
I'm not gonna lie. I was nervous that DC would blow this for us, but they came through.
Isn't that great?
So,
Not only does the XFL win the rivalry, DC, my defenders, forget we didn't make the playoffs. Who cares? We carried that XFL torch into the merge.
And I'm not gonna hear it. 9-7. 9-8 is not happening. XFL's getting a 10. We will take the ship down.
Let's go to double digits, baby.
Let's do it.
On to our best bets. Birmingham, San Antonio, over 44. Was a loser for me. However, in the same game, I did have the Brahmas plus 8.5. They won outright. Probably should have just took the money line. Yeah, as far as the over.
Neither of us picked that, though.
Right.
We thought it would be
Close game, yeah.
8.5 was too much. We said that.
Right.
So.
Yeah, this was a weird spot, and I just talked about it on the recap video, how, Birmingham gets that big win over St. Louis. They kind of get overinflated a little bit. They were 16-point favorite against Houston. They only win by 7. And then coming into this, just 8.5 points was just too big. And Brahmas not only cover, but they win. Did not get there on the over. A little disappointed about that. Birmingham's offense, nowhere to be found. San Antonio's offense disappeared at times. Also did cash DC -5 today, so that was a nice little treat. For the People's Gambler, he had his first best bet of the season with DC and Memphis under the 46. And what we've learned this year, except when you bet it somehow, Zook, do not take the under on any Memphis game because the defense is just an abyss. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what else to call it. It's like the pits of hell. I don't understand. They just leave the middle of the field wide open. There was a 4th and 2 sequence where DC called a timeout. They got the field goal unit off the field, and they came back out. Memphis called a timeout, and all of a sudden it goes for a touchdown. Just all over the place. So DC comes through on -5, but not for the under. And Zook, back to 500, baby. Let's go.
Back to 500. I got over 46 on that game. Went back to the roots. What we talked about on Thursday, to the roots.
Solo dolo, baby.
One game a week. Do my research. Make money.
That's right.
Got her done.
So, TPG, better luck next time. We're 3-2 as a show this week, over 500. And we'll keep it rolling for you. There's some value next week, even though really the only thing that matters on the card as far as a league standpoint is the home field advantage. But from a betting standpoint, there's going to be some value and some spots to look at. So tune in next week. We also had DFS with the People's Gambler. Ricky Person, just nowhere to be found. Like we said, between Person and Marable, just 9 carries for 16 yards. Brahmas' run defense did a good job bottling him up. As far as Sal Cannella, he hit the touchdown early. It was a long day for TPG. However, did redeem himself a bit with the sleeper and Nate McCrary, who had 10.3. But overall, not the best showing. Only 1 week left to really turn it around. DFS gets tough in the playoffs because you only have a couple games to pick from. Did want to get some thoughts from TPG on the week. Anything.
Technical difficulties with his audio.
We gave him a chance.
Yeah, technical difficulties. My bad. I'll make sure that's shirt up for next week.
Do we give him a second chance?
No. He will be in studio soon enough.
Is that TPG or Wilson? I'm looking right at him, and I think he's sleeping. What are we going to do here at Studio Z when we have mics on, lights on, nothing to say for himself tonight? Tweet him at @thepeoples_gambler if you have questions for him. He's been a mute tonight. We'll try to get him to speak up maybe a little bit later in the show. That was Best Bets and DFS. Let's talk about some of these games now, Zook. Arlington.
Oh, pump the brakes there, sir.
What we got?
My 3 favorite
Oh, you want to do that now?
Yeah.
All right.
This is when we do it.
Let's do it, baby.
Rogers out of Clemson. Deep. And this is a boomer! Rogers going back! Wow! Landon Akers downing it inside the 25. Unreal!
After we had just talked about how important it is that Brad Wing gets a hold of one, that ball turned over and carried like it was shot out of a cannon.
From here on out, my ass is not this wet. The volunteer trainer just absolutely soaked me with the sponge.
I felt it on my 35, and as I'm sitting there, I try to have it as under there as little as possible because you're just dripping on my
Go
pistol then.
I
Yeah.
just want you to know that a lot of it's
Okay
sweat.
with pistol? Because I handed that ball off, and I literally am dripping from your ass.
But you just soaked me. So now I'm like,
So now you're even worse?
now it's
Can I get it to you?
We win! We win! Gotta love it. Springball Boulevard. Gotta love having fun here tonight. I mean, it's just one of those nights where I'm a little delirious. I'm a little tired, not gonna lie, from an early morning in San Antonio. But I do apologize, Zook. Those were the greatest top 3 moments I've seen out of you all season. I'm sorry I almost missed them. I am running on E right now, and just the adrenaline of a DC win and the X getting it done in the season series. Let's talk a little bit about how we did this weekend. Arlington pulls a shocker over St. Louis, 36-22. They were a 3-point dog in this one. Get the win outright. Total goes way over for Zook's best bet. We had, 2 minutes left in the third quarter, or was it even before that? 3 minutes left in the third quarter, the over cashes. Manny Wilkins getting the start for St. Louis, and let me tell you, just not there yet as a passer, clearly. When he was forced into situations that they had to throw, he threw 3 interceptions, and some of those came late, in long down and distance situations with, not a lot of help. But he goes 18 to 32, 179 yards, a touchdown, and 3 picks. He did a good job on the ground, 10 carries for 51 yards. But this afternoon was really all about the Arlington Renegades. And the main takeaway that I get from Bob Stoops and his club on this one is those guys got their championship rings the other day presented to them at Texas Live. It was a great ceremony for everybody to come back together and reunite as part of the 2023 Renegades. I'm sure some laughs were shared, some drinks were shared, and you could tell that got this team, clear minds, full hearts, can't lose is what they usually say. And, man, they were clicking on all cylinders right away. Luis Perez, got to give it to him, 24-36, 259 and 3 touchdowns, continues to take care of the ball. I think he leads the UFL in passing yardage, completion percentage, passing completions. He's not throwing many picks. He only threw 2 picks this whole year. I think he's right up there with McCarron when it comes to passing touchdowns as well. His QB rating was off the charts in St. Louis against the number 1 pass defense in the league. That was an impressive performance, and I just love the offensive creativity. Let's talk about that a little bit, Zook. We've been harsh on Arlington. We've called them the Renegades. We've kind of ragged on this team at points in the season, and well-deserved. Sometimes they just haven't showed up.
Sure.
Well, they showed up in this one. I don't think you can really say it was just a Memphis thing where they just bullied a bad team. I feel like coming out of this one, you could talk about McCarron all you want. The creativity on offense is what stood out to me and what won them the game.
Sure. We have been hard on this team.
Yep.
But that's always been more of a betting standpoint. That's where the fades come from.
Right.
Right? We have said they're the best bad team in the league, right? They can win at any time, and they can make you look bad. They've been on the top of the offensive category all year. They just kind of what Skip was talking about in the postgame. A few plays a game, they could easily have a lower record, So.
Yeah, to reference what Zook's talking about, we caught up with Skip Holtz in the postgame in the loss against the Brahmas, and he said, yeah, we were 8-0, but it's not like we were out here beating our chest about it. We were a couple plays away from being 5-3, and so was really everybody in this league, just a few swing plays away. And when you look at Arlington, as a DC fan, I'm terrified of this offense coming in with what they were able to do. I think there's a lot left to play for the defenders. I want to go 5-5. I don't want to be under 500 on the season. I don't know if DC's even going to be a favorite against a team that just did this to St. Louis.
Well, they haven't done it back-to-back weeks all year.
That's right. Consistency is the key.
I think the really concerning part to me is the St. Louis defense. We've been really boasting about how great they are.
Yeah.
Not today or not yesterday.
Yeah, they definitely had the bad game. I don't think it's a summary of this defense as a whole. But it was a bad game, and I also have to give it a complete game from Arlington. Even the defense forced 4 turnovers.
I know that, but 3 of those picks were in the fourth quarter.Ey're trying to force the ball.
Right.
So remember that. Don't kill Manny that bad. He was trying to come back.
Yeah.
He telegraphed a few balls.
Yeah.
Got him picked. I think he was staring down some receivers. He can learn from that, but those 3 picks were all fourth quarter picks.
Oh, and Joe Powell, really a spring football staple at this point. Those iconic long dreads flowing. I'm sure St. Louis fans remember him from back in XFL 2020 when he took a kickback in the Dome. It was one of the first XFL-style kickoffs and a play that went viral and will go down in XFL history. Then he comes back last year, wins a title with the Renegades, and doesn't get re-signed. Now stepping up in the biggest moments after just coming back on the squad a couple weeks ago. So shout out to Joe Powell out there repping Globe Tech. Was great to see him back. Yeah, Holt Nailers got in this game a little bit. He was active instead of Lindsey Scott Jr. There was a play on a 3rd and 3 where he came in and got stuffed up the middle, and they went to Bob Stoops on the sideline. He said, well, it's this simple. He had a read. He should have given it. He pulled it and ran it, right? It's the guy who comes in for his first play. He wants the ball. So, but he did redeem himself on the 2-point play, had an end around to Isaiah Winstead, who, shout out to him as well. I don't know if you noticed, Zook, Javonte Payton, first drive, rib injury, out of the game. Isaiah Winstead comes in, and you're thinking, man, this guy hasn't played in a while. 4 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown. Question is now, are they starting the right guy? Because Winstead, I mean, man, caught a touchdown week 1 against Birmingham. Like, he was actually in the starting lineup
I don't want
at the beginning of the year.
I don't want to say it on screen, but I have a nickname for Peyton. We're not saying it. Winstead's catching the ball. Nelson.
Payton.
You said it. Winstead's catching the ball.
Yeah.
And if you're an Eagles fan, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Not like Aguilar.
I think I really do. I think you're right. Peyton's good. I'm not talking shit on him. But he's dropped 4 deep balls in the past 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Which could have been game changers, but just never happened.
Yeah, Winstead came in, played a great game. And, you know, we talk about the St. Louis pass game just kind of being non-existent. Akeem Butler, his lowest output of the season, 2 catches for 12 yards. Just not enough opportunities for him to get involved.
He didn't get a catch till the third quarter.
Right, and Darius Shepard really became the main outlet for Manny Wilkins, I think, because a lot of the shorter routes go his way. And, yeah, they got Wayne Gallman involved a little bit in the receiving game as well. But, I don't know, Anthony Beck, came out and said this loss was on him. It was a coaching loss, and he has to be better, and I'm sure they will. But, yeah, this was a little unexpected. I thought it would be close, but I thought St. Louis would eventually come out with the win. So before we move on to the next game, Zook, the conversation becomes A.J. McCarron now, because you can't judge this team with him being out. Sure, you can maybe beat up the defense a little bit, but I think a lot of that's game script. And if A.J. puts them in a better situation, maybe they feel more comfortable and don't have to play from behind like they did much of the afternoon. Thoughts on A.J.? Does he come back, you think, next week, or do they hold out for the playoffs?
This is tough. This is such a hard decision to make.
Yeah.
I think you have to play him. My thought is you have to play him.
Home field that important to you?
I mean, the Dome.
Yeah.
Well,
which one?
St. Louis.
Yeah.
That home field advantage is too great. Do I think St. Louis can walk into San Antonio and win? Yes.
They did in week 3.
Do I think San Antonio can walk into St. Louis and win? No.
I haven't done it. Right. That's the difference. San Antonio has not played there. Now, they will get a chance in week 10. Again, interesting situation in the UFL for those who don't know. San Antonio is going to play at St. Louis in week 10 to decide home field. Michigan's going to play at Birmingham 2 times in a row. So if St. Louis wins in week 10, we could have 2 rematches from both sides in back-to-back weeks, which Skip Holtz talked about.
We couldn't. We're going to.
You think St. Louis wins in week 10?
Well, it's still a rematch no matter what.
Well,
they're
again,
playing back-to-back weeks.
Right, back-to-back weeks, but in the same venue would even be almost weirder.
Okay.
Yeah.
My bad. I know what you're saying.
I think at least if it's different venues, it has a little bit of a different feel to it, a different look to it on TV, of course.
So I think you're going to play all out week 10, St. Louis and San Antonio, just because you want the home field and you want to send a message.
As a big Eagles fan, how often does this happen in the NFC East, where you'll have a divisional game, week 17, and then roll right in, play the same team? It always seems like in the NFL, something's on the line that you're playing for.
It's rare.
Right.
It really is rare. Not that, I mean, back-to-back weeks doesn't really happen.
Right.
It doesn't.
It'll be interesting from a betting
There's
perspective.
also a lot more teams in the NFL, so it's going to be rarer because the opportunity's not there.
Because as bettors, if you think about it, we're always operating under the premise that the second time around, the losing team looks better, right? It's hard to play worse 2 times in a row. So maybe you go into week 10 thinking, okay, whoever loses in week 10 is going to look better in the playoff matchup because it's hard to beat a team twice.
I know what you're saying, but it's hard to beat a team 3 times.
Yeah.
Because how many times you see
Except
that
when
happen?
DC did it against Seattle.
That's what you will see in the NFL is a season sweep. I don't even know what you said because I was thinking about what I was saying. You'll see a season sweep, and then they play in the playoffs, whether that's first round or second round, and the other team wins.
Right.
So what did you say? I don't even know.
Oh, you don't want to know.
No, I want to know.
You said what? Wait, what did you say first? You said it's hard to do what? Ah, yeah, that's what I thought. As far as AJ goes, I'm a little different than Zook. I think you just sit him. I think you're okay. I think they can go into the Alamo Dome and be comfortable in an XFL Conference Championship game on the road. Now, obviously, that'd be a bummer for the fans, so you want to try. But I think a lot of reasonable fans would also say AJ has a pretty severe injury, and he's been banged up as a quarterback who's taken just a ton of dropbacks. Manny Wilkins, before this AJ injury, barely saw the field, I think, for one drive against DC. So AJ has done it all. And these last 2 weeks, he's gotten to rest. I say just give him a third. I think they'll be okay. I don't think they can beat San Antonio without him the first time. But, again, going back to the theme of the losing team maybe being better in the second matchup, especially with AJ back. So I think that's how I would play it, unless he's cleared. He obviously is going to want to play. The question is, what does Anthony Becht, as his boss, want to do?
So I will say one thing before we roll into the next game. If he's hobbled at all, that O-line didn't actually do a great job. And I thought it was a benefit that Manny was able to use his legs.
Yeah.
So if there's any question,
He's a phenomenal runner.
I think you do have to sit him.
Yeah.
You want to play him so you get home field. But if he ain't 100, you don't.
Yeah, I think the hope was the clinch this week, and that just did not happen. I don't think anybody expected to have to play for home field when St. Louis, I mean, winning games left and right in the midseason period. San Antonio, remember, dropped one to DC. And that ultimately would have been the tiebreaker if both teams finished 7-3. So the reason, if you're wondering to cover this, how can St. Louis get home field? Well, think about it. If they win, both teams are 7-3. Are you thinking, well, they split the season series, so what gives? Here's what gives. San Antonio has a conference loss to D.C. St. Louis did not lose to D.C. They swept them, much to my chagrin. So the other St. Louis loss came to Michigan, doesn't weigh as heavily in the tiebreaker. So that's why St. Louis can still get home field in Week 10. All right, enough about that one. Let's go on to the shocker in San Antonio. Stallions lose for the first time in 377 days. And let me get this out of the way real quickly. I am not going to take Birmingham out of the championship conversation. I'm not ready to end the season like a lot of people are. This was simply a blip in the radar. They can and will come back stronger. I still believe in this team. I just think it was a bad spot, and we talked about it on Thursday a ton. 8.5-point underdog for San Antonio. Perfect spot to be in. Nobody sees them coming. You got Chase Garbers coming back off injury. Talked to Wade Phillips. He said they're all getting healthy at the right time. Had a few offensive linemen come back. You had Anthony McFarland back a few weeks ago, and a lot of defensive guys. You know, Darius Phillips, their top corner, he stepped up. So just a bad spot for Birmingham. Sort of coming off that St. Louis hangover still, where they clearly established themselves as the best team in the league by beating the Battlehawks. And it sort of seems like maybe they took the last 2 weeks off getting ready for the playoffs. But listen, that's okay, because they're going to come right back, and they're going to become USFL champions and have a shot at either St. Louis or San Antonio in the championship game. So that's enough about the Stallions. Let's talk a little bit about the Brahmas. I just didn't want to make the only storyline. I know I'll be accused of, talking all about the streak. It is a phenomenal accomplishment for Skip Holtz and co. to win 15 straight games. And I'm not going to sit here and build a team up to break them down like everybody else on the internet wants to do. It's fun to talk about these streaks, especially when they end, because it makes for headline news and very interesting television. But I'm not going to build them up to break them down. We have to honor what they did on the field. That is a huge accomplishment. that any level of football, college, NFL, UFL, whatever it may be, hats off to them for getting those 15 straight. But now they can get that kind of out of their system, and a lot of people talk about Zook. Did this team have to lose? Were they ever really going to truly go 12-0? And if they were going to lose, do you think this is a spot that was good for them to do it in?
You could say that, but they were still playing for it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I just think that this is one of those moments where, and I said this on Thursday. I asked you this question on Thursday. Does San Antonio send a message to St. Louis by beating Birmingham? Now, did I predict that they were going to win? No. I can't sit here and say that. But I'll tell you what. If that defense plays the way it played on Saturday, I'm not sure if anybody could beat them. What's your thoughts on that?
I think you're totally right. 3 sacks. Barely anybody has got to Martinez, and Skip Holtz said he was kind of running for dear life. He also talked about Stallions' right tackle being out, but still, like, it should be next man up when you're this deep. And yeah, they got home to the quarterback in some key situations.
You said this on Thursday too. Did San Antonio get healthy at the right time?
Yep. And I asked Coach Phillips that in the postgame, and he said absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're trending up, and everybody else seems to be dealing with injuries. You see, this is not a good time in St. Louis to have their starting quarterback out. This is not a good time in Birmingham to be missing the pieces that they're currently missing either. And now it becomes a situation going into Week 10. Do you rest Adrian? You cannot afford to lose your quarterback. Do you play Matt Corral Week 10? I think that's a conversation that Skip Holtz will have to have.
I'm not sure about that. I agree with resting a little bit, but also you want to know how your team responds off of a loss. Yeah. You haven't done that in, what'd you say,
377 days.
77 days?
May 11th of last year against the Houston Gamblers, who are now the Roughnecks.
Seriously, how impressive is that? I want to say that too. Yeah. San Antonio deserves all the credit in the world. They played a great game, a hell of a game, but that is a streak. And wow.
Yeah, another interesting storyline becomes Stallions defensive coordinator John Chavis, who has been crucial to this organization over the last 3 years in these back-to-back championship games, and just how good this defense has been, has missed the last 2 weeks with an illness. So again, our thoughts and prayers go out to Coach Chavis. We don't know many details about that situation, and we assume that, Coach Chavis wants to keep that personal and has not spoken out about it quite yet. But, yeah, it's not easy missing your defensive coordinator. And while I don't think it was really the defense that was the problem.
Not at all.
I think that they are missing John Chavis.
You only put up 9 points offensively.
Right. Yeah, hats off to Will Reed, right?
Defensively, you only allowed 18. We were talking, 3 weeks ago? Will anybody score 20 on Birmingham?
Yeah.
San Antonio didn't get there.
No, still won the game by 9 by a score.
So,
man, you're right.
Yes. Do we want Chavis to come back and be healthy and hope he's great? Yes. Absolutely. But I'm not sure if it's a factor.
Right.
They still held him less than 18.
Yeah, it's hard to say, and we got to give credit to Will Reed, the San Antonio defensive coordinator, who comes in, new hire by Wade after Brian Stewart, who was the DC in Houston under Phillips last year, got the job with Middle Tennessee State. So Will Reed, I mean, I can't say enough about Coach Reed. I was down there in the pregame on the field. He comes right out. They got all the fans on the field getting autographs in the pregame. They do that little VIP package. He comes down, and he starts rallying the crowd. And this is like an hour and a half until kickoff. He's down there dapping everybody up, saying, I need you guys to be loud. Like, I had never seen that from a defensive coordinator before a game. He was ready. You could see it in his eyes. They had a game plan to attack Adrian Martinez. We talked about the linebackers, Devontae Beckett, Jordan Williams, getting in Martinez's grill. I thought the D-line played a phenomenal game. And the secondary. How about Darius Phillips coming back from injury? Bryce Thompson, Tease Tabor gets the walk-off interception. I mean, Corey Mayfield, Bo Pete Keys had a big pass breakup in this game. So this defense was elite, and they're not even full strength yet. They still have some guys banged up.
San Antonio did a great job rallying to the ball. I do want to throw this in there because we haven't talked about this. The only time that T formation has failed has been against San Antonio.
That's right. Yeah, they used it on the third. They didn't even use it on the goal line.
Nope.
Usually we're just seeing it down there. But again, San Antonio held Birmingham to only 2 trips down there, so they really didn't have a chance to use it. They used it on a 3rd and 1 instead, and it got blown up. I mean, talk about these running backs for Birmingham dominating all year, and Wade Phillips saying this is the best rushing team in the league. They held their running backs to 16 yards. That's hard to do. Nobody's done that.
Big time game. Big time play by San Antonio.
Yeah.
We haven't. I don't want to say we haven't seen the consistency of it because they are winning. They're doing great with that, but we haven't seen this kind of play out of both sides of the ball from them all year. I mean, this is by far their best game of the year. And Skip did say that too.
Yeah, and there was a moment in this game in the first quarter where Cody Latimer got decked across the middle on a 3rd and 11, hung on to the ball. Kenny Robinson got flagged for a late hit. It was a pretty egregious hit, and we talked to Wade Phillips after the game about it. He said he thought that the team, he thought that Kenny Robinson Jr. actually should have been thrown out of the game in that situation. So, yeah, I think that if you have to look at that moment with Cody Latimer and you're wondering, he's getting carted off, what's happening here that's causing such a delay? Well, Cody Latimer's down with a head injury. And, in the Alamo Dome, it's very quiet. I assume on TV they went to commercial, and that's just a moment that kind of sucked the life out of the building for a minute. They love Latimer there. That's one of their favorite players. He's a fan favorite, and he's just laying on the field. He eventually gets up, goes to the cart, gets carted off. 10 seconds later, double pass, touchdown from John Trey Kirkland to Justin Smith, executed perfectly. And that's when Quentin Dormady was still in the game at quarterback. So, yeah, I think that moment, Zook, defined the game for San Antonio. You could quit and say, damn, we lost our guy. You could look at the hit and say, now we're going to go out and try to get revenge in a wrong way and make another dirty play. No, they got revenge in the right way, and that was on the scoreboard.
Right. What did they do? They changed Dr. Pepper into Kirkland and throw the double pass?
Yeah, they called it Latimer, he said.
Yeah, my bad.
I love these creative play calls from A.J. Smith. We had GTFO. We had Dr. Pepper now, so you got to love seeing it. But, yeah, and your guy Juice Ellison repping for the Sea Dragons, 12 carries, and 2 of them go for touchdowns.
2 scores.
He was fired up after the game, and we did. Go ahead.
Oh, they have a 3-headed monster in that backfield.
Lovett as well.
Lovett sat out on purpose. He wasn't hurt. They just sat him out to rest him.
Yep. Yeah, I still can't believe Juice Ellison got cut by Arlington. That's forever a head scratcher. He was a huge part of this game. Just goal line monster. I mean, you're not stopping him inside the 5 because he has the speed to bounce it outside as well as go up the middle. And we talked about him being a guy that scored actually only 1 touchdown with Seattle before he got hurt last year, and it was against San Antonio. So pretty cool full circle moment. Before we wrap this game up, I do want to talk about the quarterback situation in San Antonio. So as far as we know, Chase Garbers reactivated off the IR coming into this one. He missed 6 weeks with a wrist injury, saw his last action in week 3 in a loss to St. Louis. And that next Monday, many people were shocked. Didn't see Garbers get hurt during the game, didn't see him leave the game, but all of a sudden, people were saying he was out for the season. Well, he comes back. He's listed as quarterback 2 to Quentin Dormady in this game. Next thing you know, first quarter goes by, Dormady's on the sideline, Garbers is in the game, and he's taking off running on his first snap in 6 weeks, and he looks comfortable. And it seemed like the offense responded to him, Zook. He goes 16 of 23, 139 yards, did not throw a touchdown pass. And we asked him after the game about how he thought he played, and he said, I did enough to win the game, but I'm still a little rusty, and I got to shake. I think his exact quote was, got to shake the rust off a little bit.
Actually, no, he didn't say that. He said he shook the rust off during the week.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that was the exact quote. Yeah, and Garbers, definitely a fan favorite there. All the people in San Antonio asking for his autograph after the game. Coach Phillips spoke very highly of him, said that he was the best quarterback in the UFL before he got hurt.
He did say that.
Very high praise. And, yeah, does Garbers provide for you a dynamic that can lead this team to a championship that Quentin Dormady isn't capable of doing?
Yeah, Garbers is definitely greater than Dormady.
Championship level, though. Like, is it that much of a difference that they can win a title with 14.
I think so because he doesn't turn the ball over as much as Dormady. Dormady's a little of a. Don't take this the wrong way, and I'm not calling him Brett Favre, but he's a little loose with the football.
Yeah.
In that regard, where he doesn't care, he just lets it rip. Garbers takes care of the ball a little bit better.
Yeah, I do wonder where Dormady got hurt. If it was on the strip sack, maybe on the first drive.
Potentially, I would like. I'm gonna rewatch that and find out. Just didn't have time.
Yeah, because he didn't leave with an injury, so
No.
it's kind of tough. And he was on the sideline supporting Chase. Again, Quentin's a great guy. He caught up with his family after the game in a really great moment with his twins and everything. And yeah, it just seemed like he. It seemed like probably the play I would point to is the strip sack because he got leveled, and then maybe he tried to stay in, and then it was like, okay, we got a capable backup. Let's just throw him in.
Yeah, because I don't think Garbers was supposed to play that much.
No. He was not. The plan was Quentin Dormady. And I actually thought, they brought Garbers in for a 2-point conversion. I thought, okay, he's the 2-point quarterback here. And then, no, next drive, he was on the field the rest of the way. There was actually a question for Coach Phillips after the game about Jontre Kirkland possibly stepping in as an emergency quarterback. He goes 1 for 1, 36 yards and a touchdown. He did it last year with Houston as well, throwing a touchdown pass against Orlando. So, yeah, Kirkland, again, huge, 4 catches, 66 yards. Anthony McFarland might be the best running back in the UFL. I mean, that dude's for real. He's got power and speed, a great combination of it, too.
Yeah, and he seems fresh.
Yeah, they definitely didn't rush him back, right? and you don't have to when you have John Lovett and Juice Ellison. So, interesting to see how they'll kind of play that. Bright spots for Birmingham. I thought Jay Sternberger had a huge game, 7 catches, 110 yards, but they didn't really have any other receivers step up for Martinez. And again, the rush game was non-existent. Martinez did get 56 rushing. So we did have a question on Thursday. Would they hold him under his rushing? They did not.
I was super surprised. Kane was quiet.
Yep.
There was just nothing going on.
Yeah, that San Antonio pass defense is pretty good. They got Jordan Mosley, I think, NFL-bound safety. We got a chance to talk to him after the game in the press conference as well. He was another guy coming from that Houston Roughnecks defense. He actually came out of the game briefly in the first quarter, and he went right back in and stuffed Ricky Person on that T formation play. And they just have a ton of pieces in all 3 levels of the defense that you can point to and say that this could be an elite defense that could pose some problems for St. Louis the next 2 weeks, whether it's McCarron or Wilkins or Brandon Silvers. Maybe that's the play for St. Louis. You throw Brandon Silvers out there against his old team. Maybe he knows the defense.
Interesting. If you weren't going to play McCarron at all, which clearly that was the plan, right? Why was AJ activated? Why didn't you put Silvers as QB2? I know we're jumping back.
I think there's a compromise. And again, this is all speculation. There's a compromise there between the coaching staff and AJ. And if you know AJ, he is in their ass all day. He wants to play, right?
Sure.
He absolutely wants to go out there and win. He's a competitor at the highest level. The coaching staff wants him to play as well, but they're also trying to win a championship. So how do you meet in the middle? You say, get dressed, get out there with the guys again, be that presence on the sideline to calm Manny Wilkins down, and if all hell breaks loose and Wilkins gets hurt, go play. I think they were willing to play him over Brandon Silvers if Manny Wilkins got hurt.
All right.
I do.
I kind of see it, but
yeah. It's hard to believe, but backs against the wall, I guess they just feel like they only had one option there. Clearly they're not confident enough in Brandon Silvers to play.
They're not confident in him at all. He hasn't has he played a snap?
He hasn't been active, so.
I know.
So.
Well,
I'm telling you, start him.
That's right, because they signed Plitt.
Yeah, start him week 10. I would, because he knows the defense, he knows the playbook. He's got the playbook. He literally ran the offense for AJ Smith last year. He knows the defense. Why not? Give old Long John Silvers a run in week 10. So that's Brahmas 18, Stallions 9. The DC Defenders showing out today against Memphis. 431 yards of total offense. Listen, you talk about taking the anger out, taking the frustration out. We saw this from Arlington. They were eliminated from the playoffs and then went out and smacked Memphis. DC does the very same thing the very week they were eliminated from playoff contention, go back and take some frustrations out against just a bad defense. Again, Jordan, 20 of 24, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did have 2 picks. They were able to get Jalen McClendon in the game late. DC ran the ball for 168, passed it for 263. So very balanced. That's by far their highest yardage of the year. You could take a couple of games worth of rushing and add it up. They wouldn't get there. Had 27 first downs. Everything was clicking. Chris Rowland was the X factor. Did it on kick return, punt return, through the air and on the ground. He had over 200 all-purpose yards and just continues to get better. Yeah, I mean, this is just a chance for everybody to look good against this Memphis defense. They're clearly out of sorts. I don't know how Carnell Lake still has a job at this point in the season. You could point to injuries. Maybe they're banged up on that side of the ball, but I don't know. It's not working. And TPG had the under, and I'm rooting for DC, but I'm dying for him inside, knowing that, you know, your debut on your best bet on the Boulevard is you putting faith in a Memphis defense that just can't get it done. DC goes to 4-5 again, out of the playoffs. Not much more to say about them. I thought, you know, Brandon Smith stepped up, 6 catches for 52 yards for him. Defense played really well. They were 4 of 6 in the red zone. They got back to hitting some of those 2-point plays and got really creative on offense. They used Kiki QT on a couple of end arounds. You saw the RPOs were clicking pretty well. Ty Scott got involved. And yeah, the wind was out of Memphis sails pretty early. They used 2 quarterbacks, Troy Williams and Josh Love. Love went 9 of 14 for 105 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Didn't look terrible, but DC defense pretty much ate that O-line alive, as we would expect. For this one, Zook, does the Memphis coaching staff, I know we go back to this every week, but does the Memphis coaching staff survive at this point?
Good question.
It's never getting better. Maybe a little bit against Michigan. Like, they showed a glimmer of hope. But not this week.
Honestly, I don't even want to talk about this game.
It's rough. I mean,
you could sit over there and pipe all you want about DC, but they played the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
And
they covered.
Wow.
Pull up that, hey, who didn't cover against Memphis? Your best bet. Last week.
Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, this is tough to find an angle to talk about.
I don't know. I think defensively, no. That staff doesn't stay around. I don't think they're going to shake things up too much next year. Either way, I think they're going to keep DiFilippo. I actually really do like him. He seems like he has a really good charisma. His players respect him.
Yeah.
Defensively, they're just not there. They don't have the weapons. They got to retool. I'd like to see him get another year. Maybe that's just because I'm an Eagles fan. I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, DC, if they had this offensive performance all year, they would be right back to 9-1. But there's a reason, you know, when you go against a bad defense. And I'm not chalking it all to the bad defense. I thought Fred Keiss did call some good plays today. There was some spark out there that they weren't able to get to in some of the other games. And there were some situations coaching-wise that I thought were ironed out as well. So I have to give some credit to the defenders for a good week in practice and taking care of business against Memphis, although it doesn't really matter all that much when you're out of the playoffs. You do have a big showdown with Arlington next week that some pride will certainly be on the line there, with Arlington knocking off DC in the XFL championship game last year, and then DC coming back and storming back to beat them by 1, I think, back in week 3 on their home turf. So there'll be some bad blood in that game for sure. I'm not sure DC will be a favorite. I can't wait to grab them as a dog if they aren't, because I think they'll have a nice little send-off for the Audi Field faithful.
I do have one question before we move on.
Yeah.
Jordan just gets, what do you have, 2 stingers today?
I think he had one back-to-back weeks is what it was.
Oh, okay.
He went down against St. Louis and Memphis here.
His health is such a concern.
Yeah.
And without, like, a really good backup, they don't have one.
Yeah, McClendon couldn't get it done against St. Louis when he came in late.
You would think Jordan's coming back next year, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they need to do some work there, get something on the back end to have a
De'Aaron
good
King type. Yeah.
Yeah, they need something.
They did sign a kid, Mike DeLello. Don't know much about him after DeAndre Francois went down. But, yeah, you're right. It's important to have depth at that position. Jordan did it all today. I got to give it to him. He was terrific. And, you know, it's just you get this empty feeling about DC knowing that, you know, it's going to be over and you're not going to have a chance to compete for a championship. But it is fun to watch some of these guys, and hopefully a lot of this core will be back for next year. Again, thought the defense played well. Again, they got 2 picks as well. One by Gary Conley, the other a nice one by Monte Nicholson. DC 36, Memphis 21. That was a final. When we talk about Memphis, like, they're not really showing us anything to make us believe they will be better next year, where Houston is. This is the next game we're going to talk about. Houston seems to have a lot of youth, and they're getting very close. They came close in back-to-back weeks against the top 2 teams in their conference, you know, taking it right down to the wire. And you could say, well, you know, Michigan and Birmingham have the playoffs locked up, so that's why Houston is, you know, hanging around in these games, because there's just not much to play for. But I thought Houston played well. 10 points. They were up in the fourth quarter and just found a way to choke it away. But, man, got to give credit to Nolan Henderson. We talked about him a lot in the highlights. He played a lot against Birmingham last week, comes in this week, 7 for 18, 150 yards through the air and 2 scores. Also had 66 rushing yards for 7.3 yards a pop. So it's tough because Henderson came in this year QB3 behind both Jarrett Garantano and Reed Sinnett, and down the stretch here has really looked like a great athlete out there, a dual threat type of quarterback who has really opened this offense up. Justin Hall goes off. He ends up with 6 catches, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, Houston's 1-8. Cleaned up the penalties a little bit this week, but I did pick them straight up coming into this week, and honestly, I thought I had the right read on it. The problem is Mike Nolan's Michigan Panthers are just a solid, fundamental football team, and they just find these ways to grit these wins out. They gutted out against Memphis in a close game last week. You come back, you got really nothing on the line because Ford Field booked the damn St. Francis Cabrini Festival over your possible USFL championship home game. So you're told you have nothing to play for. You still come out and beat a conference opponent. And Bryce Perkins is a phenomenal quarterback. I am so interested to see if Michigan's going to continue this 2-quarterback system going into the playoffs. I'm not sure they can. I know Mike Nolan has said Danny Etling's his guy, but it's hard to deny Perkins, man. 12 of 15, 121 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Also had 6 carries for 76 yards and a pair of scores on the ground. So he accounts for a ton of Michigan's points. We've been saying it for weeks, guys. Bryce Perkins is the best quarterback on this roster, at least the highest ceiling to lead them to a championship, and could provide some serious problems for Birmingham's defense. As far as Michigan defensively, Breland Speaks stepped up huge yet again, 3 sacks. This defense missing some pieces. Frank Ginda went down. That was their captain a few weeks ago, but they seem to be responding nicely in big game situations. I mean, they were down 10, like I said, going in the fourth quarter, and the defense just made enough stops and came up huge. So I guess, it's not really about this game. Zook, the question becomes, is Michigan good enough to beat Birmingham, and how do you approach this game in Week 10 if you're Mike Nolan, knowing you just got to go back there for the USFL championship?
I think they are. They could win.
Wow.
But I'm going to put that percentage real low.
Yeah, I'm not willing to go that far yet. I don't see a scenario where they do, honestly. Maybe the 0.1% chance I would give him is Bryce Perkins balling out and just having an absolute day where they can't stop him on the ground, right? Because that's what they do to people.
So pre-show,
Martinez.
what did I say to you?
A lot of things.
Michigan, yeah.
Some I can't repeat.
Sure. Stop. If Michigan continues to let teams just roll the ball on them the way they did today, and they play that soft coverage, no, they have no chance. I think they can clean that up, but it's it's not too
It's so
concerning
hard
to me.
say because we get a different version of this team
Michigan puts
every
up,
week.
what was that, 26 again?
Yeah.
And they're just shy of 30. And Houston's defense is good.
Oh, yeah.
So what
Yeah.
do they do? I mean, you look at some of these games like, did San Antonio create a blueprint on how to beat Birmingham?
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah, yeah.
I
would
believe
say
in that all the
that's
time.
a good point.
Yeah. You see it NFL-wise, can't be beat, can't be beat, can't be beat. They get beat, team after team after team just does the same thing.
I think defensively, yes. I don't think you can beat Birmingham in the playoffs and only score 18. I think that was a little bit of an anomaly. But I do think defensively, yeah, if you want to go against Adrian Martinez, that's exactly how you play.
Right. So
do they have the athletes that San Antonio
That's
has?
interesting.
No.
No,
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Right. But it's interesting to think about. All right, now this is what they're running. This is what we're going to cover. This. We're going to do a little spy. There's a lot of things that could be learned from that San Antonio win.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's important.
The defensive coordinator for Michigan, Colin Bauer, has done a phenomenal job all season. And yeah, they're winners of 5 straight, so you have to give it to them. But it's just a different version of this team that we seem to get. You really can't point back to week 2 when these two teams played because it was E.J. Perry, and it just it looks so different, like offensively and defensively.
My question to you would be: let's just fast forward to next week.
Just next week,
Michigan versus Birmingham. Do these teams have a little like gamesmanship and screw around? Because they really don't mean anything. They're playing in Birmingham no matter what. So
I'm trying to find an angle because now the streak's gone. So you don't have that anymore.
The only angle is to bounce back from a loss.
I think maybe
for Birmingham.
I think maybe we're looking into that a little too much. Here's what I think we're going to get. Matt Corral playing for a shot to get back to the NFL. And going out there saying, you know what, maybe I didn't start all season, but as you saw in the tour recap, I can still throw it off my back foot 60 yards on the run. Just a phenomenal arm. So I think Skip Holtz, I can't believe I'm saying this again. This is like the 4th straight time I've said this. I think he will, based on his comments, highly consider playing Matt Corral. And I think if that's the case, whoa, I'm betting Birmingham because Matt Corral's pissed off. I could see it on his face. He's not mad at Adrian. He's not mad at the coaching staff. He's almost mad at himself that, he hasn't been able to establish himself as a starter. And you got your coach out there saying, hey, I wanted to play you. The plan was to play you, but you just aren't good enough to make a case to play.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Matt Corral is undefeated.
Is he? Yeah, you're right. He is.
Adrian Martinez is not.
Yeah.
So asking for a friend, right?
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, Matt Corral will, I think, play. Even if he doesn't start, I think he gets in. It's just it's a weird spot. I don't know what you do. If you're Mike Nolan, you certainly have key players on this team. You can't have Matt Colburn get hurt. I'll tell you that much. You don't have the depth at running back anymore, and you don't have the depth on defense to be out there. It kind of sets up as a good spot for Birmingham, I think, in Week 10. But it won't really matter all that much because in the USFL championship game, Birmingham's going to bring their horses. And, man, it's going to be probably a 9 and 9.5 point spread in that game. I mean, we know the Stallions have always been on that higher end of spreads. I mean, we've seen 16 against Houston. So, I don't see it from Michigan. Like I said, unless they go Bryce Perkins and commit to him and really give him the playbook and say, dude, you're our shot. Let's go. Let's go win it. And they got to stop the run. And like you said, just do what San Antonio did to be able to stop the run. As far as Houston goes, I guess the same question with Memphis. Does their coaching staff survive? I think maybe a little bit less of a chance that they do than Memphis does. It's not looking good.
CJ out.
Yeah.
Gone.
It just didn't work out. Like, it would have been so different if you could have got that signature win. Like, I think Orlando was prepared to go into year 2 with Terrell Buckley because they knocked off DC. That was a massive accomplishment for them. Houston, they did beat Arlington a few weeks ago.
I disagree. T-Buck was
you think
never
he was gone?
lost. He was never lost.
I don't know. I think that DC win was enough to give him a shot at year 2, man.
I don't think so.
Well, Rod Woodson got let go, and T-Buck didn't. So, but yeah, I think similar situation to last year's XFL where we had Rod Woodson and T-Buck. It was like, which one's gonna go first? Now it's DeFilippo and CJ. And man, I mean, this is 2 weeks in a row now. You had it. You had a shot. You were right in there with Birmingham. You were right in there with Michigan. You just could not make enough plays in the fourth quarter to get it done. And
let me ask you this. We both think that CJ should go first, right? But Memphis hasn't been in games the way Houston has.
Yeah.
Right? Think about that.
Yeah, I don't know what. I guess it's just DeFilippo's. Well, you can't really say that either because DeFilippo was a quarterback coach in the NFL. I think he wasn't. You know what? That's maybe the difference. John DeFilippo was an offensive coordinator for many years in the NFL. CJ Johnson was never a coordinator. He was a wide receivers coach. So there is some more experience.
It's 100% a charisma thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's tough to say either way. Maybe they both make it.
DeFilippo has confidence.
Yeah.
CJ's a little standoffish.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that one's going to go down, but I think you got to get Carnell Lake out of there if you're Memphis, even if you're going to keep DeFilippo. As far as Houston, I guess the offense has made some strides with Eric Price the last 2 weeks, but man, awful the first 6 weeks of the season. Again, don't think the defense has been bad. They're playing okay without Reuben Foster, who was clearly their best player, one of the best defensive players in the UFL. So that's been interesting. But yeah, not much to really talk about in this game. Michigan finds a way to win. They go to 7-2. And we didn't get win totals over-under at the beginning of the season, but I can tell you right now, Michigan's probably would have been 4.5. And boy, did they smash that over. 7 wins for this team with a chance to get an 8th in Birmingham, Week 10. All right, we'll get out of here with the poll. Zook, let's rank them 1 through 8. If you're on podcast, this is how I see it. Again, who's favored over who on a neutral